Waitress refuses to serve Muslim man, then discovers he owns the restaurant. How will this story turn out? To find out, watch the video to the end. But first, please subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications to get more stories like this. Rashid walked into the restaurant with his family on a chilly Saturday evening. It wasn't their usual place to eat, but it had been highly recommended by a friend. The smell of freshly baked bread and sizzling meat wafted through the air as they stepped inside. His wife, Amira, adjusted her hijab, smiling gently at their two children, who were marveling at the bustling scene around them. The hostess at the podium greeted them with a polite smile and led them to a booth near the window. It seemed like the perfect spot, with a view of the city streets and enough room for the whole family to sit comfortably. Rashid scanned the menu, noting the wide variety of dishes. "This place looks great," he said, smiling at his kids. But his optimism began to dim as soon as their waitress arrived. Her name tag read Melissa, and her smile seemed forced. She glanced at the family briefly, her gaze lingering on Amira's hijab before flicking back to her notepad. "Can I get you something to drink?" Melissa asked, her tone curt and devoid of warmth. "We'll have water for everyone, please," Rashid replied, maintaining a friendly demeanor. Melissa scribbled something on her notepad and turned to leave without another word. Amira raised an eyebrow but said nothing, instead focusing on helping her children decide what to order. Rashid tried to shake off the waitress's attitude, chalking it up to her having a bad day. However, when Melissa returned with the water, her behavior became impossible to ignore. "Are you ready to order?" Melissa asked, her voice sharp. She didn't bother making eye contact, her attention fixed on her notepad. "Yes," Rashid said, handing her their menus. "We'll start with the hummus platter as an appetizer. For the main course, I'll have the lamb kebabs, my wife will have the grilled salmon, and the kids will share a margarita pizza." Melissa sighed audibly. "Okay," she said, writing slowly as though every word was a chore. "Anything else?" Rashid frowned. "That'll be all for now, thank you." Instead of acknowledging his response, Melissa grabbed the menus and walked away without a word. Amira's smile faltered as she glanced at her husband. "Is it just me or does she seem off?" Rashid hesitated, not wanting to jump to conclusions. "Maybe she's having a rough shift," he said. But deep down, he couldn't shake the feeling that Melissa's attitude was directed at them specifically. As the family waited for their food, Melissa's cold demeanor only grew more apparent. She ignored them when they tried to flag her down for a refill, but she was attentive to other tables nearby. A couple seated across from them received warm smiles and cheerful banter, while Rashid and his family were met with indifference, or worse. When their appetizer finally arrived, Melissa placed it on the table with a thud, spilling a bit of hummus onto the edge of the plate. "Here," she said flatly before walking away. "Excuse me," Rashid called after her, his patience wearing thin. "Could we get some extra napkins, please?" Melissa paused mid-stride and turned back, her expression annoyed. "Yeah, sure," she muttered, disappearing into the kitchen. It took her nearly 10 minutes to return with the napkins, and by then Rashid was fuming. "This is ridiculous," he said under his breath. "We've done nothing to deserve this kind of treatment." Amira placed a calming hand on his arm. "Let's just try to enjoy our evening," she said, though her tone betrayed her own frustration. "We're here as a family. Let's not let her ruin it." But the situation only worsened. When the main courses arrived, Melissa plunked the plates down carelessly, causing Rashid's lamb kebabs to slide precariously close to the edge of the dish. "Enjoy," she said sarcastically before walking away without so much as a glance. Rashid had had enough. He stood up, intending to speak to the manager. "I'll be right back," he told his family, his voice tight. He approached the hostess at the front desk. "Excuse me," he said politely but firmly. "Could I please speak to the manager?" The hostess looked concerned. "Of course. Is there an issue I can help with?" "There is," Rashid replied. "But I'd prefer to discuss it directly with the manager." The hostess nodded and disappeared into the back. A moment later, a man in his mid-40s emerged, his expression friendly but professional. "Hello, I'm Mark, the manager. How can I help you?" Rashid took a deep breath before speaking. "I don't want to make a scene, but my family and I have been treated very poorly by our waitress tonight. She's been dismissive, rude, and inattentive. It feels personal and I'd like to understand why." Mark frowned, his brow furrowing. "I'm so sorry to hear that," he said. "Let me take care of this." "Which waitress are you referring to?" "Her name tag says Melissa," Rashid said. Mark nodded. "I'll speak to her right away. Please return to your table and I'll make sure this is addressed." Rashid returned to his family, feeling a mixture of relief and apprehension. The manager said he'd handle it, he told Amira. I hope he does, she replied, her voice calm but firm. No one deserves to be treated like this. As they waited, they noticed Melissa glancing their way, her expression stormy. It was clear she knew they had spoken to the manager. Moments later, Mark approached their table. I'd like to apologize for the service you've received tonight, he said, his tone sincere. It's unacceptable and I'm addressing it immediately. Your meal will be on the house, and I hope you'll give us another chance to provide you with the experience you deserve. Rashid thanked him, appreciating the gesture. But as the manager walked away, Melissa's behavior took an even sharper turn. Melissa's icy demeanor turned into outright hostility. While she had been curt before, now she was openly glaring at Rashid and his family. She muttered under her breath as she walked past their table, making no attempt to hide her disdain. Rashid did his best to ignore her, focusing instead on his children, who were happily enjoying their pizza. But it wasn't long before Melissa crossed a line. As she walked by with a tray of drinks for another table, she purposely bumped into Rashid's chair, causing the tray to wobble precariously. Oops, she said sarcastically, not bothering to apologize. Amira's eyes narrowed and she turned to her husband. This is intentional, Rashid. She's going out of her way to make us uncomfortable. I know, Rashid said through gritted teeth. But I'm not going to stoop to her level. Let's finish our meal and leave. Despite his resolve to remain calm, Rashid couldn't help but feel the sting of Melissa's actions. He had dealt with discrimination before, but it was never easy. It was a reminder of how far society still had to go, even in a place as seemingly welcoming as this. When the meal was over, Rashid stood up to speak with Mark again. He wanted to ensure that Melissa's behavior was addressed, not just for his family but for anyone else who might experience similar treatment in the future. Mark was waiting near the front desk, looking concerned. Mr. Rashid, he said as the family approached, I hope the rest of your meal was better. Thank you for comping the meal, Mark, Rashid said. But I need to be honest, Melissa's behavior didn't improve. In fact, it got worse. Mark's face darkened. I'm so sorry to hear that. This is absolutely unacceptable. I'll be having a serious conversation with her about this. I appreciate that, Rashid said. But I hope this isn't just a conversation. This kind of behavior reflects poorly on your entire establishment. It needs to be addressed thoroughly. You have my word, Mark said firmly. Thank you for bringing this to my attention. Rashid nodded and led his family out of the restaurant. As they stepped into the cool evening air, Amira placed a hand on his arm. You handled that well, she said. I'm proud of you. Thanks, Rashid said, though his heart felt heavy. I just hope it makes a difference. What Mark and Melissa didn't know was that Rashid's connection to the restaurant ran far deeper than they realized. What Rashid hadn't mentioned, what he had deliberately kept to himself, was that he wasn't just a customer. He was the new owner of the entire chain. Rashid had recently finalized the acquisition of the restaurant group that owned the establishment, but he had wanted to experience the service firsthand before introducing himself to the staff. He believed in understanding the customer's perspective before making any changes. Melissa's behavior had been a shocking revelation. Rashid had hoped that his employees would embody the values of respect and hospitality that he held dear. Instead, he had encountered a blatant example of prejudice within his own business. The next morning, Rashid called an emergency meeting with the restaurant's management team. Mark and several other managers arrived at the corporate office, curious but unaware of the reason for the sudden meeting. Melissa, however, was notably absent. Rashid entered the room, his expression serious. Good morning, everyone, he began. I've called this meeting because there's an issue we need to address immediately. He paused, looking around the table. Last night, I dined at one of our locations with my family. What I experienced was deeply troubling. A member of your staff, Melissa, displayed behavior that was not only unprofessional but outright discriminatory. The managers exchanged uneasy glances, clearly surprised. Mark spoke up first. Mr. Rashid, I'm so sorry to hear that. I spoke to Melissa about her behavior, but I had no idea it had escalated. It did, Rashid said firmly. And it's unacceptable. This kind of behavior has no place in our restaurants, or anywhere for that matter. We pride ourselves on creating a welcoming environment for all guests, and what I experienced last night was the opposite of that. He leaned forward, his tone resolute. Moving forward, I expect every member of our staff to undergo comprehensive training on diversity, equity, and inclusion. This is not optional. It's a fundamental part of our values. Mark nodded, his expression serious. Absolutely, Mr. Rashid. I'll make sure the training is implemented immediately. Good, Rashid said. But this goes beyond training. I want to establish a clear code of conduct for all employees, with zero tolerance for discrimination of any kind. Anyone who violates that code will face immediate consequences. The room fell silent as the weight of Rashid's words sank in. He could see the managers processing the gravity of the situation, and he hoped they understood the importance of the changes he was proposing. Do you have any questions? Rashid asked, his gaze sweeping across the room. One manager raised her hand. Mr. Rashid, what will happen to Melissa? Rashid's jaw tightened. Melissa's actions have already caused harm to our reputation and to our customers. She will no longer be employed by this company. Mark nodded in agreement. I'll handle it, Mr. Rashid. Thank you for bringing this to our attention. Later that day, Rashid visited the restaurant again, this time with a different purpose. He introduced himself to the staff as the new owner, taking the opportunity to share his vision for the company. I want this restaurant to be a place where everyone feels welcome, Rashid said, addressing the staff gathered in the dining area. No matter where they come from, what they believe, or how they look, everyone deserves to be treated with respect. He looked around the room, his eyes meeting each staff member's gaze. I know change isn't always easy, but it's necessary. Together we can build something incredible, something we can all be proud of. The staff applauded, their enthusiasm renewed by Rashid's words. He could see that many of them were eager to embrace the changes, and he felt a glimmer of hope for the future. Over the next few weeks, the restaurant underwent a transformation. The diversity training sessions were well received, with staff members sharing how the lessons had opened their eyes and deepened their understanding of each other. The code of conduct was implemented, and Rashid made it a point to check in regularly with the managers to ensure the new policies were being upheld. The restaurant quickly gained a reputation for its inclusive and welcoming atmosphere. Customers noticed the change, leaving glowing reviews that praised the exceptional service and positive energy. One evening, as Rashid dined with his family at the restaurant, he noticed a familiar face among the staff. It was Claire, a young woman who had recently joined the team. She approached their table with a warm smile. Welcome back, Mr. Rashid, she said. It's an honor to serve you tonight. Rashid smiled, grateful for the genuine kindness in her voice. Thank you, Claire. It's good to be here. As she walked away, Rashid turned to Amira. This is what I envisioned, he said softly. A place where everyone feels at home. Amira smiled, her eyes shining with pride. You've done something amazing, Rashid. And it's only the beginning. As the weeks turned into months, the restaurant's transformation continued to flourish. Rashid had implemented an open-door policy for both staff and customers, encouraging them to share their feedback and concerns. He wanted everyone to feel heard, valued, and empowered to contribute to the success of the restaurant. One day, Rashid received an email that caught his attention. It was from a customer who had visited the restaurant shortly after the changes were implemented. Dear Mr. Rashid, I wanted to take a moment to thank you for what you've done for this restaurant. My family and I visited last weekend, and the experience was unlike anything we've had before. The staff was attentive and kind, the food was delicious, and the atmosphere was so welcoming. It was clear that everyone working there genuinely cared about making us feel at home. As a Muslim family, we've often felt out of place or unwelcome in certain establishments. But your restaurant felt different. It felt like a place where we truly belonged. Thank you for creating such a beautiful space. You've made a difference in our lives, and I'm sure in the lives of many others as well. Sincerely, a grateful customer. Rashid read the email twice, his heart swelling with pride and gratitude. This was exactly why he had set out on this journey, to create a space where everyone could feel accepted and respected. He forwarded the email to Mark and the rest of the management team, adding a simple note. This is why we do what we do. Let's keep going. Despite the positive momentum, Rashid knew there was still work to be done. He had learned from experience that building an inclusive environment required constant effort and vigilance. He continued to host monthly meetings with the staff, where they discussed challenges, celebrated successes, and brainstormed new ideas for improvement. During one such meeting, a young server named Mia raised her hand. Mr. Rashid, she began, I just wanted to say thank you for everything you've done. I've worked in a lot of places, but none of them have felt as supportive and welcoming as this one. I've seen how much you care, and it inspires me to be better every day. Her words were met with nods and murmurs of agreement from the other staff members. Rashid smiled, humbled by her praise. Thank you, Mia. That means a lot to me. But this isn't just my work, it's all of us working together. and I'm so proud of what we're building here." The meeting ended on a high note, with the staff feeling more motivated than ever to uphold the values that had become the foundation of the restaurant's success. As the restaurant gained recognition, it began to attract media attention. Local news outlets wrote glowing reviews, praising the establishment for its delicious food, exceptional service, and inclusive culture. Rashid was invited to speak at community events, where he shared his story and the lessons he had learned along the way. One evening, as Rashid prepared to leave the restaurant, a man approached him near the entrance. Rashid recognized him immediately. It was a former customer who had been vocal about Melissa's behavior the night of the incident. "Mr. Rashid," the man said, extending his hand. "I just wanted to say thank you. My wife and I came back here recently, and the difference was night and day. The staff was so kind and welcoming, it felt like a completely different place." Rashid shook his hand, a warm smile on his face. "Thank you for giving us another chance. I'm glad to hear you had a better experience." The man nodded. "You've done something incredible here. I'll be telling everyone I know to come and see for themselves." But not everyone was quick to embrace the changes. Melissa, after being dismissed from the restaurant, had taken to social media to voice her grievances. She accused Rashid of being overly critical and unfair, claiming that her actions had been misinterpreted. The posts gained some attention, with a handful of supporters rallying behind her. But Rashid refused to engage in the online drama. Instead, he focused on his work, confident that the truth would speak for itself. And it did. Customers and staff members who had witnessed Melissa's behavior began to share their own experiences, countering her claims with stories of Rashid's integrity and commitment to creating a positive environment. One former coworker wrote, "I worked with Melissa, and I can say without a doubt that her behavior was unprofessional and discriminatory. Mr. Rashid made the right call in letting her go. Since then, the restaurant has become a much better place for everyone." Another customer added, "I was there the night Melissa mistreated Mr. Rashid and his family. It was appalling to watch. I'm so glad he took action and turned things around. The restaurant is thriving now because of his leadership." Rashid read these comments with a mixture of relief and gratitude. He knew that the journey to change hearts and minds was never easy, but seeing others stand up for what was right gave him hope for the future. One day, Rashid received a call from a young man named Yusuf, who had recently been hired as a server at the restaurant. Yusuf was soft-spoken and polite, but Rashid could sense the nervousness in his voice. "Mr. Rashid," Yusuf began, "I just wanted to thank you for giving me this opportunity. I've always wanted to work in a place where I felt safe and respected, and this is the first time I've found that." "You're very welcome, Yusuf," Rashid replied. "I'm glad you're here. How has your experience been so far?" "It's been wonderful," Yusuf said. "The staff has been so supportive and the customers are kind. I feel like I've finally found a place where I belong." Rashid's heart swelled with pride. Yusuf's words were a reminder of why he had worked so hard to create this space. It wasn't just about the food or the service, it was about the people. As the restaurant continued to thrive, Rashid began to think about the future. He envisioned opening more locations, each one embodying the same values that had made the original restaurant such a success. He wanted to create a movement, a network of establishments that celebrated diversity and inclusion. With the support of his team, Rashid began to lay the groundwork for expansion. He partnered with local organizations and community leaders, ensuring that each new location would be a reflection of the community it served. As the plans took shape, Rashid felt a renewed sense of purpose. He had turned a painful experience into a platform for change, and he was determined to make the most of it. On the one-year anniversary of his ownership, Rashid hosted a celebration at the restaurant. The event was a chance to reflect on the journey so far and to look ahead to the possibilities that lay ahead. The evening was filled with laughter, music, and heartfelt speeches from staff and customers alike. Rashid stood before the crowd, his heart full as he addressed them. "This past year has been a journey of growth and transformation," he began. "What started as a dream has become a reality, thanks to all of you. Together, we've created something truly special, a place where everyone feels welcome and valued." He paused, looking out at the sea of faces before him. "But this is just the beginning. There's so much more we can do, so many more lives we can touch. And I know that with all of you by my side, there's nothing we can't achieve." The crowd erupted into applause, their energy infectious. Rashid smiled, his heart swelling with pride and gratitude. He had found his purpose and he was ready to keep building one step at a time. As the celebration continued, Rashid couldn't help but reflect on how far they had come in just a year. The restaurant had transformed from a place where prejudice was allowed to fester into a beacon of inclusivity and community. He glanced around at the diverse crowd gathered in the dining area, people from all walks of life sharing food, laughter, and stories. It was a testament to what could happen when a space was built on respect and understanding. Mia, one of the servers who had been with the restaurant since before Rashid took over, approached him with a plate of cupcakes. "These are for you," she said, her cheeks flushing slightly. "The staff wanted to thank you for everything you've done. You've made this place feel like home for all of us." Rashid smiled, deeply touched. "Thank you, Mia. That means the world to me. But this isn't just my work, it's ours. Every single one of you has helped make this place what it is." Mia grinned. "Still, we wanted you to know how much we appreciate you. And don't worry, none of us baked these. We ordered them from a professional bakery." Rashid chuckled. "Probably a wise choice." The two shared a laugh before Mia excused herself to attend to a table. Rashid looked down at the cupcakes, each one adorned with a small, edible message of gratitude. One read, "You inspire us," while another said, "True leadership." His chest tightened with emotion as he realized just how much the restaurant had become a second family to him and so many others. The next morning, Rashid arrived at the restaurant early to prepare for the day. He loved the quiet moments before the hustle and bustle began. It gave him a chance to reflect and plan for the future. As he walked through the dining area, he noticed a young woman sitting alone at one of the tables, her head bowed as she studied a menu. She looked up as he approached, and Rashid recognized her immediately. It was Melissa. "Melissa," he said, his tone neutral but firm. "I wasn't expecting to see you here." Melissa fidgeted with the menu, avoiding his gaze. "I know I'm probably the last person you want to see," she admitted. "But I wanted to talk to you." Rashid crossed his arms, his expression unreadable. "I'm listening." She took a deep breath, her hands trembling slightly. "I came to apologize. For everything. The way I treated you and your family that night, it was wrong. There's no excuse for it. I've spent the past few months thinking about what happened, and I realized I needed to take responsibility for my actions." Rashid remained silent, letting her continue. "I lost my job because of my behavior, and at first I was angry," she said. "But the truth is I brought it on myself. I've been doing a lot of soul-searching since then, and I want to change. I want to be better. And I wanted to say I'm sorry." Rashid studied her for a moment, his expression thoughtful. He had always believed in second chances, but he also knew that actions spoke louder than words. "Melissa," he said finally, "I appreciate your apology. But an apology is just the first step. Change comes from consistent action and a genuine commitment to being better." She nodded, tears brimming in her eyes. "I understand. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to prove that I've changed." Rashid paused, considering her words. "If you're serious about making amends, I suggest you start by volunteering at a local community center or organization. Show through your actions that you're committed to making a positive impact." "I'll do that," Melissa said earnestly. "Thank you for giving me a chance to make things right." Rashid nodded. "It's up to you now. Prove through your actions that you mean what you say." As Melissa left the restaurant, Rashid felt a mixture of emotions. He hoped her words were sincere and that she would take the opportunity to grow. But he also knew that her journey was hers to take, and he couldn't control the outcome. Over the next few months, Rashid remained focused on expanding the restaurant's impact. He launched a mentorship program for young people interested in the hospitality industry, providing them with hands-on experience and guidance. The program quickly gained popularity, attracting participants from diverse backgrounds who were eager to learn and grow. One of the ments, a bright and ambitious young man named Ali, quickly stood out. Ali had a passion for cooking and dreamed of one day opening his own restaurant. Rashid took him under his wing, sharing not only culinary techniques but also lessons on leadership and community building. "Running a restaurant is about more than just the food," Rashid told Ali during one of their sessions. "It's about creating an experience that makes people feel valued and connected. If you can do that, you'll build something truly special." Ali nodded, soaking in every word. "Thank you, Mr. Rashid. You've taught me so much already. I can't wait to apply these lessons to my own restaurant someday." Rashid smiled, proud of the young man's determination. "I have no doubt you'll achieve great things, Ali. And when you do, remember to pay it forward." As the mentorship program flourished, Rashid's vision for the restaurant chain continued to expand. He opened new locations in neighboring cities, each one embodying the same values of inclusivity and respect that had made the original restaurant a success. The chain became known as a model of excellence in the industry, earning accolades and loyal customers wherever it went. Despite the growing demands of his work, Rashid never lost sight of what mattered most. He remained actively involved in the day-to-day operations of the restaurants, taking the time to connect with staff and customers alike. He believed that leadership was about service, and he was determined to lead by example. One evening, as Rashid was closing up the original restaurant, he received a call from Mark. "Rashid," Mark said, his voice filled with excitement, "you won't believe this. We just got a letter from the mayor's office. They're awarding us the Community Impact Award for everything we've done to promote inclusivity and support our community." Rashid's eyes widened. "That's incredible, Mark. This is a testament to all of us, the staff, the customers, and everyone who believed in what we're building. It's all because of your leadership," Mark said. "You've inspired us to be better, and it's made all the difference." As Rashid hung up the phone, he felt a surge of gratitude. The journey had been far from easy, but moments like this made it all worthwhile. He knew there was still work to be done, but he was more determined than ever to keep pushing forward. On the night of the award ceremony, Rashid stood before a crowd of community leaders, staff, and supporters. As he accepted the award, he took a moment to reflect on the journey that had brought him here. "This award isn't just for me," he said, his voice steady and heartfelt. "It's for every person who has walked through our doors, every staff member who has worked tirelessly to create a welcoming space, and every customer who has believed in what we stand for. Together, we've proven that change is possible, that respect and kindness can overcome even the deepest divisions." The crowd erupted into applause, their energy filling the room. Rashid looked out at the faces before him, his heart full of hope and gratitude. He knew that this was just the beginning of a movement that would continue to grow and inspire. As the applause died down, Rashid concluded his speech with a simple but powerful message: "Let's keep building. Let's keep growing. And let's never stop believing in the power of community." As the applause echoed through the room, Rashid stepped down from the podium, his heart still pounding with the energy of the crowd's response. He was immediately greeted by Mark and several staff members, their faces beaming with pride. "You nailed it, boss," Mark said, shaking Rashid's hand firmly. "I've never seen a room so inspired." "Thank you, Mark," Rashid replied, his voice steady but humble. "But this is a win for all of us. We wouldn't be here without the hard work of the entire team." As they mingled with the crowd, Rashid couldn't help but notice the diversity of people gathered in the room. Customers, staff, local community leaders, and even some of the men from the mentorship program were all here, united by the vision he had worked so hard to bring to life. It was a tangible reminder of what they had accomplished together. Amira and their 2 children soon joined him, and Rashid's smile widened as he pulled them into a warm embrace. "What did you think?" he asked his wife. "You were incredible," Amira said, her eyes shining with pride. Every word came straight from the heart and everyone could feel it. Their eldest, a boy of 10, tugged at Rashid's sleeve. "Does this mean you're famous now, Dad?" Rashid chuckled. "Level. Not famous, buddy. Just trying to make a difference." His son grinned, clearly impressed. "Well, I think you're the best." Rashid's heart swelled as he hugged his children tightly. Moments like these reminded him of why he worked so hard, to build a better world for the next generation. As the evening wore on, Rashid found himself approached by a familiar face. It was Yusuf, the mentee who had shown such promise in the mentorship program. He was accompanied by his parents, both of whom looked proud yet slightly nervous. "Mr. Rashid," Yusuf began, his voice brimming with excitement, "I wanted you to meet my parents. They've heard so much about you and wanted to thank you in person." "It's an honor to meet you both," Rashid said warmly, extending his hand. Yusuf's father shook his hand firmly, his eyes glistening with emotion. "The honor is ours, Mr. Rashid. You've given our son an opportunity we never thought possible. He talks about you in the program every day. It's changed his life." Rashid smiled, humbled by the man's words. Yusuf has been an incredible addition to the program. He's hardworking, passionate, and dedicated. I have no doubt he'll achieve great things. Yusuf's mother stepped forward, her voice soft but filled with sincerity. "You've done more than just mentor our son. You've shown us that there are still good people in this world, people who care about making a difference." Rashid placed a reassuring hand on Yusuf's shoulder. "Thank you for trusting us with Yusuf's future. I promise to continue supporting him and others like him every step of the way." Exchanged heartfelt goodbyes, leaving Rashid with a renewed sense of purpose. This wasn't just about running a successful business, it was about creating opportunities and building a legacy that would inspire others. The following week, Rashid returned to his routine at the restaurant. Despite the accolades and recognition, he remained deeply involved in the day-to-day operations, believing that true leadership required presence and engagement. One afternoon, as he reviewed inventory in the back office, Mark walked in with a curious expression. "Rashid," he said, holding up a piece of paper, "you might want to see this." Rashid took the paper and scanned it quickly. It was a letter from the city council, inviting him to join a newly formed advisory board focused on promoting diversity and inclusion in local businesses. "They want you to help shape policies for other establishments," Mark explained. "Apparently, word about the changes you've made here has reached some pretty influential people." Rashid leaned back in his chair, absorbing the weight of the opportunity. It was humbling to think that his efforts had resonated beyond the walls of the restaurant, inspiring others to take action. "This is a big responsibility," he said finally. "But it's also a chance to make an even bigger impact." Mark nodded. "If anyone's up to the task, it's you." Rashid accepted the invitation, and over the next several months he worked closely with the advisory board to develop initiatives aimed at fostering inclusivity across the city. The board's efforts included creating workshops for business owners, providing resources for underrepresented communities, and establishing a recognition program for businesses that demonstrated exceptional commitment to diversity. Through it all, Rashid remained grounded, never losing sight of the values that had guided him from the start. He continued to lead by example, showing that change was possible when people came together with a shared vision. One of the board's first major accomplishments was hosting a citywide event celebrating cultural diversity. Rashid was invited to speak at the event, and as he stood before the crowd, he felt a familiar surge of gratitude and determination. "Diversity is not just about acknowledging our differences," he began, his voice steady and heartfelt. "It's about embracing them, learning from them, and building something greater together. When we create spaces where everyone feels valued, we unlock the true potential of our communities." The crowd erupted into applause, their enthusiasm echoing Rashid's own conviction. He left the stage feeling inspired and hopeful, ready to continue the work ahead. Back at the restaurant, Rashid's efforts to foster a culture of respect and inclusion continued to pay off. The staff had become a close-knit family, united by their shared commitment to excellence. Customers regularly left glowing reviews, praising not only the food but also the welcoming atmosphere. One evening, as Rashid walked through the dining area, he noticed a family sitting near the window. The parents were smiling as they helped their young children with their meals, their joy palpable. Rashid approached their table, his heart warming at the sight. "Good evening," he said with a smile. "How's everything tonight?" The father looked up, his expression brightening. "It's perfect. Thank you for asking." The mother chimed in, her voice filled with gratitude. "We've been coming here for months now, and every visit has been wonderful. Your staff is incredible, and this place feels like home." Rashid's smile widened. "That means so much to hear. Thank you for being part of our community." As he walked away, he felt a deep sense of fulfillment. Moments like these reminded him why he had embarked on this journey, to create a space where people could connect, share, and thrive. As the restaurant approached its second anniversary under Rashid's ownership, plans for the celebration were already underway. The event would be a chance to reflect on the progress they had made and to set goals for the future. Rashid gathered the staff for a meeting to discuss the details. "This celebration isn't just about our success," he said. "It's about honoring the journey we've taken together and the community that has supported us every step of the way." The staff nodded, their enthusiasm palpable. Mia raised her hand, a smile playing on her lips. "Can we include stories from our customers? Like testimonials about how the restaurant has impacted their lives?" Rashid's eyes lit up. "That's a fantastic idea, Mia. Let's make it happen." The team got to work, collecting stories, photos, and messages from customers who had been touched by the restaurant's transformation. The celebration would be a true reflection of the community they had built together. On the night of the anniversary, the restaurant was filled with laughter, music, and a palpable sense of pride. Rashid stood at the entrance, greeting guests as they arrived. Among them were familiar faces: mentors, staff members, and customers who had become friends. As the evening unfolded, Rashid took the stage to address the crowd. His voice carried a mixture of gratitude and determination as he spoke. 2 years ago, we set out to create something special, a place where everyone feels welcome, valued, and respected. Today, we're celebrating not just a restaurant but a community. And this is only the beginning." The crowd erupted into applause, their energy fueling Rashid's resolve. He looked out at the faces before him, each one a testament to the power of connection and collaboration. Together they had built something extraordinary. And together they would continue to grow one step at a time. As the anniversary event continued, Rashid mingled with the guests, listening to their stories and memories of the restaurant. Each tale was a reminder of the impact they had made. From families who had found a safe place to share meals to young employees who had discovered their passion for hospitality, the ripple effect of Rashid's leadership was evident. At one table, he found Yusuf and his parents, surrounded by several other men from the mentorship program. They were deep in conversation, their excitement infectious. Yusuf noticed Rashid approaching and stood up, motioning for him to join them. "Mr. Rashid," Yusuf began, his voice full of pride, "I wanted to share some good news. I've been accepted into culinary school. And it's all thanks to you." The table erupted into cheers and Rashid's face broke into a broad smile. "That's incredible, Yusuf. Congratulations. You've worked so hard for this and you deserve every bit of it." Yusuf's mother wiped away a tear, her voice trembling with emotion. "Thank you, Mr. Rashid. You believed in our son when no one else did. We'll never forget what you've done for our family." Rashid placed a hand on Yusuf's shoulder, his tone gentle but firm. "You've earned this, Yusuf. Your dedication and passion are what brought you here. And I have no doubt you'll go on to do amazing things." The night reached its peak with a surprise presentation by Mark and the staff. They had prepared a video montage of testimonials from customers and employees, each one sharing how the restaurant had touched their lives. The room fell silent as the video played, the heartfelt messages bringing many to tears. One by one, faces appeared on the screen, their words resonating deeply. A single mother who found a welcoming space for her family. A young man who learned valuable life skills as part of the mentorship program. A longtime customer who praised the restaurant's transformation as a beacon of hope in the community. By the time the video ended, the room erupted into applause. Rashid stood frozen for a moment, overwhelmed by the outpouring of love and gratitude. Mark stepped forward, holding a plaque. "Rashid," Mark said, his voice steady, "on behalf of all of us, your staff, your customers, and your community, we want to thank you for your vision, your leadership, and your unwavering belief in the power of kindness. This plaque is a small token of our appreciation for everything you've done." Rashid accepted the plaque, his hands trembling slightly. The inscription read, "To Rashid Khan for transforming lives and building a legacy of compassion and inclusivity." His voice broke as he addressed the crowd. "Thank you. I don't have the words to express how much this means to me. This journey has been one of the most challenging and rewarding experiences of my life. But I couldn't have done it alone. This is a reflection of all of us, working together to create something beautiful." As the event wound down, Rashid found himself reflecting on the path that had brought him here. It had all started with a single meal, a moment of prejudice that had sparked a journey of change. He thought about Melissa, who had been the catalyst for that transformation. He hadn't seen or heard from her since their last conversation, but he hoped she had taken the opportunity to grow. A few days after the anniversary, Rashid received an unexpected letter in the mail. The return address was unfamiliar, but the handwriting was neat and precise. He opened it to find a heartfelt note from Melissa. "Dear Mr. Rashid, I hope this letter finds you well. I wanted to thank you for the advice you gave me months ago. After our conversation, I started volunteering at a local community center just as you suggested. It's been a humbling and eye-opening experience. Working with people from different backgrounds has taught me so much about compassion, empathy, and the impact of my actions. I've realized how much I have to learn, and I'm committed to continuing this journey of growth. I know I hurt you and your family, and I'll carry that regret with me. But I hope that through my actions I can start to make amends. Thank you for giving me a chance to change. Sincerely, Melissa." Rashid set the letter down, his heart heavy yet hopeful. Change wasn't easy and it wasn't quick, but it was possible. Melissa's words were a testament to that. Months turned into years and the restaurant chain continued to grow. Each new location was a reflection of the original, built on the same principles of inclusivity and respect. Rashid became a sought-after speaker, sharing his story at conferences and events, inspiring others to lead with empathy and courage. The mentorship program expanded, with graduates like Yusuf returning to mentor the next generation. Rashid watched with pride as his mentor went on to achieve their dreams, each one carrying forward the values they had learned. One evening, as Rashid locked up the original restaurant after another busy day, he paused to look at the sign above the door. It was the same sign that had hung there when he first dined with his family all those years ago, but now it held a deeper meaning. This wasn't just a restaurant. It was a symbol of what could be achieved when people came together with a shared purpose. It was a reminder that even in the face of prejudice and adversity, kindness and determination could create something extraordinary. As Rashid turned to leave, he felt a sense of peace wash over him. The journey was far from over, but he was ready for whatever lay ahead. Because in the end, it wasn't just about running a business. It was about changing lives. One meal, one moment, one connection at a time.